Hello and welcome to Jeffcoat Art. My name is Christy, and today we're going to be finishing this painting. In case you did not watch part one of this, I'm still, I think I've decided on a title. It's kind of been unofficially the black hole sun painting because of the image in the top right corner, which was created from doing an acrylic pour. But I really don't want to use, I don't know, I feel like it's too close to the song title, so it might just be titled the next lyric in this song, uh, Come Wash Away the Rain. So we'll see. But anyway, this is part two, and this is a new style that I'm trying out where I take an acrylic pour that's just gone bad and is not that good, and I paint on top of it. So today I'm coming in with a metallic gray paint, and I'm just adding some highlights to her hair, and we'll see if I can talk for 19 minutes. I might have to find some other random things to talk about, but yeah, you can see the reindeer at the bottom, which was not included in the part one video. And basically the reason why they're there, I've just kind of let this painting grow naturally. Whatever parts of the acrylic pours suggest something, I've tried to build on top of that. So the reindeer on the right, the part that's the acrylic pour that was just there, is its head, not the antlers, but you can see its head just kind of bent down or tucked down. And part of the acrylic pour actually suggested antlers. So that's why I built on that shape. And then the reindeer on the left, the same thing really. I mean the head, and I added the antlers on that one. And then I've just tried to mirror that with her hair so that in parts of the pour, in parts of the painting, they mimic the antlers here and there. And yeah, just finishing it today. Well, as finished as a painting can be, because I think most artists never quite reach that feeling of done. And if you ever do reach it, it's a really good feeling. But it's just, it doesn't happen. I don't know why. It's like you could work on something for hours and hours and days and weeks and months, and you could still come back to it with a fresh set of eyes and see like 5 things that need to be changed. I think that's been the case for most of my paintings. I'll always notice something that I should have done better. I think especially with the memorial paintings that I used to do a lot of. So you're painting a real person from a photo, for, and it's commissioned by someone who loved them, so you gotta get it right. And I would always just, I would need to pull my husband into my studio and be like, "Is it done? Just look at the photo. Is it done? Can you see anything else that's not right?" Because I just could not rely on my own um, eyes. I don't know my own opinion of it. So he's been he's been wonderful as an assistant, because he'll catch things that I miss or things that I'm obsessing over. He'll be like, "Oh, it's fine. It looks great. It's done." In fact, for this painting, when I finished the last video, and he came up to the studio to look at it. I was like, "So this is what I've done today, and I still have some more work to do." He's like, "What else do you have to do to it?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I gotta polish up the antlers, and I gotta define her hair in certain areas and put some more highlights." He's like, "Well, it looks done." I'm like, "Okay, great. That means the next time I sit down, I'm not gonna have to work for too long." And okay, so it's nice to hear that. So now I'm coming in with black paint, and like I said, I just needed to tighten up some of the hair. I don't I don't I mean, I work on regular stretched canvas, and it's been primed with white gesso, and then this in this case it had the acrylic pour on there, but the canvas is still kind of toothy, so I just like to come back in with a tiny little brush, and like you can see where I'm working now, how that line of black looks sharper and darker. I've watched. So I'm gonna go ahead and admit I'm so bad when it comes to learning about like new supplies and other like new techniques, because I'm a creature of habit. So once I start doing something and it works for me, like I just stay there, and I really have to make a conscious effort to try new things, and to be creative about being creative, and what I use. And I I had watched a video of this amazing artist who does hyper realistic paintings, and she was using this. Oh, what did she call it? Oh gosh, it wasn't. She wasn't painting on canvas, but it was a type of board, maybe. Anyways, it did not have the toothiness that a canvas has. And if you're like, "Oh, well, it's toothiness," that's basically like the bumps. If you run your finger along a canvas, you're gonna feel some texture there, and that texture shows up in a painting. It can show up, and that's fine. But it makes line work, like really precise, delicate line work, a bit harder. Um, and so she was using this board. Gosh, now I wish I could remember the name of it. Oh well. Um, and it was just smoother. And she talked about how it allowed her to really get those hyper realistic details. So now I'm sure it costs like $30, $40 for one board. So, you know, you already got to add that into the cost of an original painting. And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time selling original paintings. um, People can really love your work, doesn't mean they're going to buy it. So I have to think about cost when it comes to the supplies I'm using. I have tried to pay more attention to the paint brands that I buy. I still buy some cheap paint. Um, if I like a color, if I like, you know, if it's a metallic paint. Otherwise, I do try and use more archival paints that are going to last longer. I use a good bit of Liquitex, but it can get expensive. Being an artist is not cheap. That's why Patreon has been such a blessing. I'm on there if you ever want to become a patron. Just search Jeffcoat Art. Jeff like the boy's name, coat like you put on. My patrons on there are so wonderful. And yeah, been able to buy supplies and not obsess too much about the cost and budgeting that. So you can see like what I'm working on, like it's a noticeable difference with that black coming in around it. Just makes it pop more, makes it look less flat. If you ever struggle with a flat looking painting, go in and add a tiny bit of shadow and a tiny bit of highlight. And I promise you, it will help. And when I say tiny, I mean a tiny bit. Don't. People make the mistake of going overboard with it. Unless you're doing something super stylized and you're going for a different kind of look. But if you're trying to get it more realistic, just remember that if it looks not as 3D as you'd like, then remember that rule of a tiny bit of shadow and a tiny bit of highlight. It's amazing how just a dab of white it'll draw your eye to that, like her eye. There is a tiny, tiny bit of white paint. And that was the last thing that I added to her eye. That's my favorite part, to be honest. When I'm working on a face, I love working on the eyes. Noses, not so much. Mouths are fun once you get them right. It's tricky because it's so easy to paint something like you imagine, oh, this is what a nose is supposed to look like. This is what a mouth is supposed to look like. Well, no. Every single one is different. And if you just take whatever image is stuck in your brain of what it's supposed to look like, you're not going to have a good nose or mouth. But once I get the proportions right, it's really fun to go in and like that little bit of white on her top lip, on her upper lip. Just a tiny little bit of paint, and it really makes it pop. Actually forgot to put my initials at the bottom of this painting. I'm gonna have to go do that when I finish this video. And I talked for 15 minutes. Hot dog. Oh, I'm usually not a talkative person. So doing these videos has definitely taken me out of my comfort zone. Oh. So I have another one of these paintings, and it's just leaning against a wall in my studio, and I'm really excited that I can turn to that one now because it's another acrylic pour and black and white painting fusion like this one. And except this was done the opposite that this particular painting that I'm working on right now was done. So this woman that you've been watching, I did the acrylic pour first. I didn't like it, and then I painted her on top. But I painted her face around parts of the acrylic pour. And but this other one I have it's of a man, and it's a black and white fantasy painting that I did, and I just really didn't like it. He looks like such a beefcake. It's like I didn't put too much detail in the top part of his chest, and his hair looked so bad. Um, and I think I did this painting probably 5 years ago, and I've just had it. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. He looks like a beefcake gone wrong. So I did an acrylic pour on top of him, but around his. I didn't cover up his face. I just covered up the god awful chest and parts of his hair. So if you're ever struggling with a part of your painting, you just get super creative and find a way to cover that crap up with something else that is different from that style you're working in. And who knows, hey, maybe you might have a happy marriage of something that'll inspire a new line of paintings. Oh, here we go. You're gonna get moved around a lot. Oh, there are my boobs. This is me trying to take the camera off of the tripod. It would not come off. I should have cut this part out, but oh well. Here we go. Ah. Ready for your close-up. So here she is in all of her glory. So that's not, I didn't paint the green, the blue, the purple. That's all the background acrylic pour that's underneath her. So cool. And then the reindeer head, that was part of the acrylic pour. Her mouth, that other reindeer. Yeah, I'm gonna be making prints available. I know a couple of you have voiced that you want to know when this is done, so thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Mwah. Bye-bye.